Good afternoon and welcome to the series of discussions with Yogi. And what can these discussions offer to you? They are possible answers to your questions related to who you truly are and how you can live happily and peacefully, and how you can also help others to live a better life. And today, Oldoez will interview Sister Rona, who is based in the Manhattan, is Rona. And she has been a meditator for many years. I think Oldoez will introduce her. And she has been with us in several occasions. She has spoken to the Romanian audience before, and we know her because she was living in Europe a long time ago. Now she is a citizen of the biggest country, so now she lives in the United States. So welcome, Rona, and welcome, Oldoez. And I hope you will enjoy the discussion. Oldoez?
Thank you, Ivana, for your introduction, and hello to Rona. Good to be with you.
Hello, and thank you for the invitation.
It's lovely to have you with us. And how are you today?
I'm good. Enjoying the New York weather with this, which is warming up a little bit.
Yeah, it feels the same here. I'm calling in from Amsterdam, and it is warming up a little bit. It looks like the spring is coming, but not yet. I'm very much looking forward to this conversation together. And actually, the root of this conversation were a while back, I saw a set of questions that were triggering for myself in an interesting way. And I thought, why not discuss them with friends near and far and see what kind of wisdom comes about when discussing these questions. And the first question that I would like to ask you is a very general one, but a nice one to start with. I know you have been on this spiritual journey at least for 25 years, is it? 25?
A bit more.
A bit more.
1991.
1991. That is more than, I think, 28, 29?
33 or so.
33. Wow, look at that. Math wasn't my best subject at school, as you can tell. But for a bit of a while, you have been around the spiritual journey. So the question is, what has life taught you so far? What has life brought you so far?
Spiritual life?
Yeah, and I think also life in general, because at one point both lives become one, but feel free to answer it the way.
No, I don't feel that there is a separate life, but I thought maybe you meant life before I started meditating and joined the spiritual studies, or after. Before, growing up was a childhood that was very privileged in many ways, very loving family setting and good education. There was always enough for everything, but also in a setting growing up in the tropics, outdoors, very safe environment. So always felt a sense of gratitude for that, but at the same time also feeling a bit, why is this not there for everyone? And so feeling these questions, these existential questions were there. Is why is there poverty? Why is there violence in the world? And why am I living in such a protected environment, but many others are not, and even some of my friends are not. So those questions were, at some stage, even I felt tormenting me. And this is partly what led me to study medicine, because I thought at least my life should be useful, and at least my life should be bringing benefit or some solace to many others. And I thought being a doctor, that would work. But in medical school, I very quickly realized that human suffering is not so much physical, but much more mental and emotional. And so the questions in my mind just grew. And when I came in touch with spirituality, with meditation, with the Brahma Kumaris, many of those questions, and ultimately all of the questions that I had, they were answered. And that brought me such a peace, such peace. And also a deeper motivation to use life in a more constructive way. And over the years, that has brought me a lot of joy. It has brought me the feeling that I'm living a life that is, well, at the very least, a useful life, and a life that is decent, at the very least. But also it brings out a richness inside, which is beautiful. And before I started my spiritual journey, just before, maybe a year or two before, I became an atheist, because of the ideas that were around at that time. And I was taught what I was taught about God and in religion. I couldn't support that anymore, or I couldn't be part of that anymore. But coming into the world of meditation and the world of Raj Yoga wisdom, and being introduced to this being who is pure and clean and loving, and the experience of the self as a spiritual being, and the company of that supreme being, it has brought us a depth and an experience of love which was so pure and continues to be such a source of beautiful, refined feelings, but also inspiration for myself to bring out the best.
Nice, nice, very nice also to hear how you came about spirituality, what your own question was in your own quest, because I think in a way spirituality has a common nominator for all of us, but at the same time everyone's journey is unique, and the questions that they have when they come on a spiritual journey is also unique, and yours was very specific, being very privileged, having also chosen, being able to choose your own education, and choosing for an education that would be of service of humanity, and then finding the limitations of that, and in a way that brought you to a bigger study, lifelong study, and isn't it? And a question within that, you pointed out a bit, because you were privileged, and you're coming from a country, actually originally your parents are coming from a country that not necessarily everyone is privileged over there. And do you believe that we all have a kind of a destiny in a way, why someone is privileged and why someone is not privileged? And do you see yourself also here on earth to fulfill that?
Quite a bit. I don't, even though I know the concepts, I don't really feel this kind of, what is it, destined or kind of reason for incarnation. But yeah, I do understand and deeply study also the law of karma and understand karmic dynamics. So definitely there are reasons for being born in a privileged setting, but much more that I focus on what was before, and that led to this is, it is much more important for me to use that privilege for the benefit of all. And now, of course, I feel the real benefit is spiritual upliftment for everyone. And destined to do that, well, my whole being is geared to that. So maybe, yes, I'm destined to do that. Because mostly also the experiences that I have and the peace that I have access to in my feelings, in my meditations, the love that I can experience, I feel that is the right of everyone. And if I have received it, I see it as a duty to share it with anyone with everyone, but those who are open to it and are actively wanting it, definitely for them too. So yes, I do feel this life should and will be more and more used for that spiritual service, so as to say. If you can call it destiny, I don't know. I feel those are such big words that I not really comprehend, and I'm not really seeing myself in that league of these prophetic incarnations or souls who are destined to do a certain task. Maybe from God's perspective, it might be like that.
Yeah, but also we as human beings, I mean, everyone is having in a way a certain destiny, or if there is another word that we can use for it. Even these little things like, why is someone born in a certain family? Why is someone born in a certain country and someone else is not? Why is someone becoming a prime minister and someone remains a beggar on the street? So some kind of things are happening, whichever name we give it. And I liked what you pinpointed there with regard to this question, that rather than thinking about what has caused it, yes, there might be a cause, and this is the effect that we're seeing, whatever it is, good or bad. But rather than looking backwards, looking forwards and seeing how can I, and for everyone again it's different, but your attitude is very nice. How can I benefit people? How can I share the privilege and even the privilege of having this spiritual knowledge? How can I share it with a bigger audience? How can I, it's not only my right to have peace and love, it's everyone's right. And that makes it in a way more inclusive, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is one of the beautiful things, no, from a spiritual journey and from spiritual knowledge, the knowledge of Raj Yoga, that we're souls and that we're all souls and that we belong to one family. And so one of the feelings that has grown stronger over the years is the feeling of brotherhood with everyone. And that really we are a family. And that becomes a deeper motivation to want to use time, thoughts, energy, skills, what creativity to help my brothers also open up to a world and an experience and a realization of their own identity as spiritual beings that will help them experience that those more refined feelings that we are all looking for. Everyone should be able to discover the beauty and the truth of who they truly are.
At least once in their life, isn't it? At least once in their life. Yeah, you mentioned this brotherhood. That has been quite a topic for myself to grasp it, because and it might need a bit of decoding here, because if we look around, well, we definitely are different, and from different nations and different languages and physically different. And one might have the question, how can we be any brothers like this? You know, what is the brotherhood around? But I guess what you're referring to, and what's also my understanding, is that in a spiritual sense, in essence, we belong to the same human family, isn't it?
Maybe not even so much human, but it's more, we are spiritual beings, souls living this temporary human art, playing that out. And of course, at a physical level, you are not my sister or my brother. We have different parents, we have a different family and lineage, blood lineage, and culture and language and nation also. But as spiritual beings, as the invisible experiencer, beings of consciousness, souls, we come from that same dimension beyond the physical. We belong to that same supreme parent, you could say, as a family of souls, playing different parts, acting out different roles in this drama of human life. But behind them, the actors, souls, they are my brothers. And it is quite an interesting exercise, because every day I walk in New York City and Manhattan on the streets from the meditation center to the place where we live, to the apartment. And there are homeless people, there are beggars, there are billionaires walking the streets, everybody, all kinds. Someone spits in front of you on the ground, somebody screams loud, all kinds of scenes are there. But to walk in this awareness that I am a spiritual being, a being of light, everyone else is also innately a soul, my brother. And it generates very different feelings when I consciously am able to do that and hold that awareness. And somebody spitting in front of you or screaming out loud, that is just another scene being acted out. But behind there is my brother. And yeah, nice practice.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that we took time to decode it a bit, because I think this can be useful not only in New York, but in any city or village that we are at in the current times, which are quite challenging times. And yes, indeed, a lot happens. But if I can observe it from a different perspective, from a different angle, from a spiritual angle, then that might also create a shift outside myself. It definitely creates a shift inside myself, because I can hold to my dignity, to my peace, and to my love, spiritual love for the self and for others, but it also can be a ripple effect.
And because the focus is not so much on the maybe unpleasant or maybe even horrible behavior, one is aware of it, but the real focus is on the being behind. And I think that may also be a gift, silently, a gift that we can give through our attitude, through our vision, holding that attitude of brotherhood. It might help others also feel and shift into a different space of consciousness. Because unpleasant behavior, it all comes from lower consciousness. No? We have moved into this state of spiritual ignorance or body consciousness, or however you want to call it, a state of ego, where we identify ourselves as mortal, limited, perishable human. And then all these complicated feelings and emotions and behaviors come from that. But if I can hold on to the essence and the origin and the pure truth of each one, at least at that level, I'm holding and I'm helping to what? To create that frequency or that vibration of consciousness. And it might help others too. Nobody sees them with that vision generally.
Yeah, and having an elevated vision, but without thinking like, look at me, I'm having an elevated vision, and look what a mess they make of the street.
Please don't get into the ego, no.
And I liked what you said. It's another shift. You said it very quickly, but I want to repeat it because it's a very important one. I feel you don't focus on the negative. You don't focus on what is going wrong, whether it's inside or outside. It is kind of like 180 degrees shift that is created within the self, in the mind. I mean, externally everything might be the same and no one might even notice. When you're going from the meditation center to the apartment, no one might even notice anything externally. But I imagine, and I have also had that experience myself, that internal shift gives also a sense of peace and contentment, regardless the outcome and regardless the outside.
Yeah, at least for myself, it is useful.
Yeah, nice. And something that we all can practice. Everyone who hears this recording, pause it, go to the exercise and take it up for a day or maybe 2 days or a week, and let us know how it went for you when you did the exercise. Another question, do you think that, you're also doing a lot of effort studying, doing these practices, and we all do some effort. Everyone in the world does it, but this is also, of course, a specific effort that we do here. But in general, do you think that this life is all that there is, or is there more to life?
Is there more than a spiritual life,
Or your physical life, even
or
this birth?
This body.
We come, we choose things to do, and we do them to our best ability. Is this everything?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I know that's not the case. But how I understand it for myself is deep within each and every one of us, there is a longing for life not to end. Well, the whole medical structure at the moment is based on prolonging life and with the hope or the pretense that maybe hopefully at some stage we can be immortal. So deeper inside in human consciousness, in the human mind, collectively also, there is this longing for life not to end, for our life not to end, for me, the self, not to end. And for the body and for anything physical, that is an impossibility. Everything in the physical world has a beginning and an end. Even this body, even if it lives 150 years, still there comes a time when it disintegrates. So where does this longing come from? Where does this striving deep inside come from? And many times we go through life as if we're never going to die. Where does that come from? There must have been some reference, some time that we have experienced. And so the being of consciousness, the soul, the invisible experiencer, is not made of matter. So we are timeless and imperishable, immortal beings using a perishable body. So there is a beginning and an end to this body. But the soul, the real self, is immortal, is timeless and imperishable. And so when we leave this body, when this body has come to the expiry date, can't go any further, we leave this body. Consciousness just travels on. And consciousness can then go back to the invisible dimension, the dimension of silence and light, and just experience the environment of, we call it home of the soul. Or we move into another body to experience another human environment with another family and body and circumstances. And that can happen several times. So this life definitely is not the only life. And I remember I knew someone from baby, as a small baby, he was maybe 3 months old or something, just starting to crawl, used to like strong alcohol. So if parents were getting guests and they would put alcohol, this baby will crawl because low tables. He would put his finger in the glass and do like this. So parents initially did not realize this. And then they would see the baby as if intoxicated, drunk. And after a while, they found out. And then, of course, it didn't happen anymore. But normally, the physiology of a baby body cannot tolerate alcohol. And there is a natural disgust for alcohol in a young baby body. Unless there is a tendency in the soul that is carried over from before, that propels this strong, almost like an addiction kind of situation. And so we see tendencies in babies, even when myself, as a young child, there were so many tendencies that were not formed in this life. So we have come with that. And I'm sure after we leave this body, we will take the tendencies that we have nurtured within our mind and subconscious. We will take that with us into a next birth. This is why some children are born in certain situations and with certain character tendencies, and others are not. And of course, there is then also the environment and the upbringing but we come with certain baggage, which comes from before, and we will go with baggage. So what is the baggage you want to carry with you?
Yeah, that's a nice question, actually.
Only life? I don't think so. I don't think so. I know it's not so.
You know from your own experience and observations that you have done, and very nice examples also, because nice in a sense of a tangible, visible, and some of us might have noticed certain things such as these or any other tendencies in our own life or in the life of others who were around us once they were a baby. And your question and your example is also made me think, like, if we are bringing tendencies from the past, such as this baby in your example, then there is also the possibility to create consciously tendencies that I want to bring in my next life. So in that sense, the destiny is not something that happens to me and me being a victim of the situation, circumstances, and events, but it is something that I can consciously work towards on a deeper spiritual level, first of all. But even looking something simple, reminded of your example, what kind of habits do I have? And are those habits, just as a starting point, are those habits beneficial for myself, for my body, for my surroundings or not? That can be a starting point for anyone who is listening to this talk to become more aware of it.
Can I give one more example?
Yes, they're very vivid.
And this is a funny, nice one. And actually, that baby boy who was with that alcohol, he grew up an athlete and now completely without alcohol, no? And renouncing and actively promoting not to drink. So it's not that you are like stuck with something that you come with and it cannot change. It is there forever. It shifts.
Yeah, I think that's also an important point that you're making now. Happy for that. Yeah, go on with the next example.
Example is this is a very close friend of mine. I used to babysit for her two children, her boys. And the youngest one, when he was like 3, 4, 5, that age, he started drawing. And when children draw, they have like basic things they draw. They draw cars or they draw dogs and human beings, puppets. But he would draw X-ray images, like a X-ray of the thorax, the chest, and then he would draw the ribs, or he would draw the thigh bone, or the humerus, and he would draw with such precision. 5, 6, 7 years old, and his sketchbook's full, just X-rays. And then sometimes you will ask him, what is that fissure there, that line there? He said, oh, that is where it broke. Young, 3, 4, 5, 6, that age group. He just started primary school, sketchbook full. And now, this is many years ago. Now he is in his 30s, late 30s, and he is what do you call it? An X-ray laborant. I don't know how you say that in English. But he came with that soul came with certain impressions and interests from the past, that as a child he used to draw these things. They're almost like a bit horrifying for a little child to draw like that. Or a skull. I remember one time he drew a skull, the X-ray of a skull, and the skull was broken. It had a line here. Where does this come from?
I bet he's very good in his job now. He has had many years of experience.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, where does it come from? And also, other than that, how can I create a better future in a way for myself, as you mentioned earlier? Another question, because we have less than 10 minutes and I have 3 questions for you to go, which will help our viewers also to grasp a better understanding of spirituality in essence. What is your understanding of the concept of karma in terms of cause and effect? Anything that you have understood and you want to share with us?
Of course, karma is a vast topic, but to bring it back to simple essence, the way I understand it in essence, is my internal factors invite my external situations. And so if there's something that needs to be put right at the inner level, then external situations will signal me. Hey, let's say, for example, if I can share an example. One time I had a car, and the car was a bit old, but it was properly functioning. And so I drove with the car to work, and my colleague just bought a new car, and he parked next to me, and he says to me, "Rona, what is this thing? This old car doesn't look good. You should get a new car. What is this, doctor? You can't afford anything better." And I said, "But it works fine." He said, "Still, at night it can break down anytime with night shifts and everything." Look, I just bought a new car. So at the end of the day, again, we both walked to our cars together. And again, he begins to say, "Your car is old, your car this, your car." So I tell him, "My car always works, no problem. It may be old, but my car always works." And he gets in his car after bragging that he has a new car, and his car doesn't start. So I laugh at him. Look at this. What is this used new car? My car is old, but it always works. And I get in the car and my car doesn't work. And he starts his car at that moment and he says, "Your car always works now." And he drives off. And no matter what they tried to do with the car didn't work. And I went into the office. I said, "Let me meditate a little bit. Let me practice what I tell other people. Drop the ego. Get out of this car owner mindset." I meditate a little while and I pick up the phone to call a taxi. The thought comes, try one more time. And after this, is mechanics have tried to work on the car. They did everything. They couldn't find anything. I go, I meditate for some 10, 15 minutes. And the thought comes, try again. And the car starts. Now I feel that scene was just there to test me. That scene just happened for me to drop that ego. And it is a simple example, but this is how I feel karma works. I have a certain mindset. I have a certain state of consciousness. And if that consciousness is benevolent or in line with the forces of goodness and benevolence, then external circumstances will support it. But if my state of mind, my state of consciousness is one of ego, one of ignorance and vices, then external circumstances will come that force me to shift. This is how I understand, in essence, the law of karma. So if I shift internally, we can create heaven. If my inner world is a state of benevolence and beauty and truth, if my inner world is ignorance and selfishness and arrogance, we create hell for ourselves.
Yeah, nice definition also. And the example is very vivid. The next question is about the concept of God. Some people call it God, some people call it universe, some people call it a source of love, a source of peace, many different names. But what is your concept? What's your understanding of God?
Like I said, not just before I started my spiritual journey, I was an atheist, and if not, I would call myself atheist at that time. And if not atheist, at least I would say God is everywhere and God is in everyone. Now I feel how embarrassing. How I experience God. For me, God is not a concept. God is someone, just like I am a being of consciousness. And I exist and I experience and I can think and I can express. So God is also a soul, a being of consciousness, who can experience. But the supreme, as I like to call it, God, the supreme soul, never comes into a body of his own and never gets into attachments and ego, always holds that spiritual awareness. And it's clear that there is a non-physical and a physical dimension, and that we just visit the physical dimension. We don't own anything here. We just come, journey, and we will go back to the non-physical. And God is the one who holds that truth and holds that wisdom and holds that clarity always, like a parent. And children, or other souls, we can come and play and do all kinds of things, but as if the parent is always there for us to return back. To hold, he holds that. I'm saying he, but it's not like a gender, but more like a father figure or a mother figure. But as a non-physical being, he holds that highest consciousness. He holds that highest wisdom safe, so that when we lose it, we can always get it back. And in meditation, when I elevate my own awareness, when I broaden my awareness and shift my attention away from the physical, I can experience God's presence, God's company. But also, I can take benefit from God's infinite, immense wisdom and beauty as a mirror for what I can be also. Because if I come out of that lower consciousness, I can also be like God. So it may sound a bit theoretical, but for me it is not a theory or a concept, but an experience. God's presence, His wisdom, His love, the influence on my own being when I tune in. I hope that helps. But not easy to find the right words to articulate these experiences.
Yeah, I think what is nice about what you're sharing is that it's an experience. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
She is a living being. And I'm just going to share the last question, which is an experiential question. I feel like I could talk to you a bit longer because every answer would need a bit of decoding or a bit more time, but such are the times at the moment. Time in a physical realm is not endless. And it was a joy to have you with us and to share with us the nuggets that have been helping you along the way on your spiritual journey.
Yeah, and appreciating very much the question. It brings out nice thoughts and feelings.
Nice,
Good
nice.
thinkers ask good questions.
Glad to hear that. And because you just shared also about experiencing an experience with the Supreme, with the Divine. But I feel also, and you also mentioned that he is also a soul, like the self. So up to you how you want to pick that up. But how do you find a peace within yourself, and how do you connect with the Divine? Maybe you want to guide us through a short experiment, 3 minutes or so together as we are here.
Mm. Mm. One way that always helps me is to remind myself that there is a physical dimension, a world of sound and matter and bodies and the game of human life. But there is also a non-physical, invisible dimension, a dimension of thoughts and experiences and feelings and consciousness. And to shift the attention away from the physical and the gross and the temporary. For example, right now there is this body, there is sound, and the hands are moving. That is the physical dimension. But the being who is operating this body, the inner being, the higher being, the soul, is not physical. Can't see the soul, but you can see the face. But the one who is using his mouth to speak, using his eyes to see, that one is invisible, timeless. And we use the image of light. And so to shift the attention away from the body and the gestures and the movements, to the awareness of the self as this living light, who is timeless, innately pure and secure because of being imperishable. And to just fill the mind with this awareness of light, like a tiny star, serene, free, being of light, the soul, innately God-like. This is such a mind-blowing thing, but this is the reality of each and every one of us. Beyond the ego, drop those false, limited identities and get a taste of the living light that is you, that is me, pure, free, serene. one who is a guest in this body, a guest on this planet, just visiting, invisible, benevolent, lovely and loving, being of light. The whole journey is to just come back to the awareness of the self, is this beautiful, eternal, pure, living life. In this awareness, peace is natural. Just hold this awareness and the attention on the self as light. Even as we come into the body and use the body and movement and sound, we are forever beautiful beings of living life like stars.
Thank you, Rona, for your generous and open sharings and
Thank
and
you.
guiding us into peace and inner light. I think Ivana is back with us.